Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where, it's been a crazy 10 or so days since Angie and I recorded last. We went on a trip together, and you get back into the rat race of work, running kids, trying to catch up from being gone. And then this week, it's going to be St. Patrick's Day, first day of spring, all of those things coming up this week. And you look like you're actually ready for the occasion, I would say.
I was going to ask you, where's your green?
It's not technically St. Patty's Day yet, but you prepared.
Almost.
I see you've prepared.
Almost.
I will say green is more of a springy color, I think.
It is. But this is like one of my probably only green sweatshirts. I'm really not like a big fan of green. Actually, that's why I'm glad my kids changed schools because I like the navy better. But anyway, I've talked about this before on this podcast, but this brand of sweatshirt, go check it out. It's called Four Wells, Fore Wells, Wells, and it's this beautiful mama that turned pain into purpose after she lost her baby boy, Wells. And she first started with jewelry, and then she went into apparel. But it is so simple and classy. And this sweatshirt just says, "For you, Hallie." You can customize it, but the quality is so good. I was thinking about St. Pat's Day. I'm like, I gotta get my favorite green sweatshirt out. So just a little plug there. If you know someone that has lost someone super close to them, like go check it out. It's a great gift. A lot of times people are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know, what I could do for someone. I have several sweatshirts from the place from Four Wells, and I love it because it's great quality and it's very simple.
Well, so you sent something out to your work. You do a Friday Feels at work every week, and I love it. It's really good. It's motivational for everybody that you work with, and I love it when you share it with me beforehand. I think I'm just like your proofreader, just trying to catch spelling errors and things like that. But it makes me feel included. So I do enjoy it. And the one you sent out this week, I did really like because growing up, I was a diehard Michael Jordan fan, loved wearing all the Nike. And they have one of the most recognizable and famous slogans of all time in "Just Do It." And that is what you titled the Friday Feels that you sent out to your team this past week. You want to talk about that a little bit, how we can apply it?
Yeah, I would just say if you're not following Mel Robbins, then you're missing out. She just recently came out with another book, The Let Them Theory. And it's really just about if you're concerned about people's perception of you, and you're worried about like approval and all of that stuff, and you've got people that disagree with you or have different opinions about you, let them. Like, do not let what other people think about you change your direction, your thought, your decision making, all of that. So I follow her because of that, but I would equate her to Brene Brown, honestly, like at that level. She has so much insightful information. I came across a TikTok recently where she was on a podcast and she was talking about this, and it just like totally stuck with me. She asked the podcast host what they thought the most important word of the Nike slogan, "Just Do It," was. And naturally, I had the same answer. My answer would have been do, because
that's what I would have thought.
That requires action. And that's what Nike's telling you to do. Like, go do it. And she said, no, it's not. It's just, because if the slogan was do it, that's like throwaway advice. Like, that's a no-brainer. Like, you know that. But when you add the just to it, it's like Nike is acknowledging the universal problem that every human has. It's hesitation. Because the word just means you're contemplating some sort of decision. You're on the sidelines. And every one of us feels afraid. Every one of us doubts ourselves. Every one of us is unsure of ourselves. Every one of us holds ourselves back. But the difference is if you're going to allow that hesitation to stop you, or if you're going to just do it. And Nike is saying, get off the sidelines and get on the field. So that's what I had shared, because it's like we're all contemplating decisions in our life. And I mean, I do this every day. Like, where should I be going? Like, where should I be focusing my time and my energy? And what am I supposed to be doing with this pain, and how I'm living and showing up with for my family? And there's a lot of ideas swirling around in my head every single day. And so it just resonated with me of like, don't waste an opportunity to challenge yourself or to grow or go all in, regardless of the season that you're in. Like if you don't take the pain and the setbacks and the heartaches and turn it into an opportunity to grow, then you're wasting it. You're wasting it. So I ran across it this week, and it was just like so powerful, because I talk about this all the time of like, take the trip, take the pictures, take the video, and it just all wraps around to just do it. Just do it. And, I thought for this particular podcast, we would dive into trip preparation, because it's not easy, especially when you have kids, to carve out time to spend with your spouse, because there's always a million things going on. Our schedules are crazy to even just block off time with work and all of that. And then, there's so much that goes into it. For me, also, it's hard to leave my kids and make time for us to spend.
I don't know what
time
you're
together.
talking about. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you don't understand, because you're a dad and dads think differently. But for moms, it's hard to carve out time. So I thought it would be good if we would dive into just like our habits and how we prepare to travel.
I think so too. I will point out real quick from a standpoint, if you're watching on YouTube right now, Angie has the most beautiful blue eyes. I feel like this green sweatshirt is making your eyes look green. Like, I'm looking at you and I'm like, wow, your eyes look green instead of.
They're blue.
Cool.
They're blue-green. There's definitely a shade of green in there. Well, my mom has green eyes, actually. So that's where I'm sure a hint of green comes in.
Is it bad this week? I had to ask some of my kids what color their eyes were. Is that bad?
Yeah.
That's a
bad.
dad thing? That's a dad thing.
Yeah.
I know all their birthdays.
Well, that's the most important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. So trip preparation. Where would you like to go? Let's dive into that.
Well, I think for me, initially, if I'm going to be traveling, like, my house has to be in order. And our kids are older, right? Getting older. And so part of it is like, what do we have in the house that probably needs to be removed? And so before we left, well, let me back up. Aric has stopped drinking. So immediately he got rid of like all the stuff that he would drink. So, but primarily beer. You're not like a liquor, wine type of guy. And so got rid of all that. I would typically drink like bourbon or vodka or wine, but I'm also not a big drinker. So if we would purchase something, it would sit in a cabinet forever, and I would maybe have a drink here and there, but I'm also not drinking because it serves me zero purpose. And my body, like I've said before, is so sensitive to things. So I don't feel good when I even have like a half a glass of wine. So I don't drink it either. So we have cabinets in the basement, in our finished basement, that has liquor in it. And the kids had some friends over, and it was kind of like on Super Bowl. It's too accessible.
Yeah, for sure.
And we don't need it because we don't drink. So we decided that we were going to clean all of that out. And oh my God, there was some suspicious empty bottles though. And it was like, oh, this is probably a good time to get rid of it. So we,
it's funny how they leave empty bottles. Like you wouldn't notice that.
Well, and there's an aspect of liability with that too, of like, I know as a mom what it feels like when someone else is responsible for the death of your child. And I would never want to ever get in a situation where I was some sort of contributing factor to something like that. If a kid would drink at our house and then drive. And I mean, I know kids will drink. I just don't want him to get it from me. And so anyway, we cleaned that all out and replaced it all with bottled water. So it might be a surprise one day. So anyway, house preparation, we do that. We didn't buy a bunch of groceries. We made sure that all of that stuff was taken care of and ready to go, so that when we came back from our trip, that the house was in order. I know for you, it's probably getting all the laundry done.
Yeah, I would say one of the things I've always loved about our relationship, even when we started dating, was we realized and recognized that when we would go on a trip together, we always liked our house to be clean before we left so that it was clean upon return. If we had people over to our house, we always liked it to be clean before we went to bed so that it was clean the next morning. Those were things that we did. So that when we're prepping for a trip, I like things to be, my dishwasher to be clean and empty. I like my laundry to be done so that when I come home, those things are completed and I'm not having to also make up that along with any work that we might have missed. So
yeah,
we got all those things done. And that's how we like to do things, is to make sure that we're pre-prepared so that when we come back, it's just back into the routine as easy as it can be.
Yeah. Another aspect of trip preparation is an aspect of self-care. So, if you're going on a beach trip, there might be pedicure in order for one or both of us, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
So I went the weekend right before we left to get a pedicure. I'd been there. I had not had a pedicure. I don't know in how long, honestly, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a pedicure. And so I walk into this place and it was packed. So I'll wait. It'll be fine. And of course, the one chair that opens up, it's like chair number 7. Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. So got a pedicure. And then I came home and Summer, she wanted some new pictures for her room, kind of updated a little bit. And I found a couple of these little posters that you frame that are so cute. But the one of them is like this super sassy girl with lips, putting lipstick on, and it looks like a newspaper article. And it says, "Better late than ugly," which is totally Summer, because she, from a time management, she's getting a lot better. But it's hard for kids to kind of learn time slots and how to do stuff. She's super organized, but she definitely has her own routine, skincare routine. But anyway, got that poster. It was rolled up. So I laid it out flat to make it flat, obviously, to fit in the poster thing. And as I'm rolling it out, I'm looked at the top and it has number 27, but it looks like November 27th.
Wow.
And then it has $7 at the top. But it was just those combinations of signs were, I feel like, an affirmation in some aspects from Hallie about going on the trip. I always get anxious leaving the kids, for one, and going somewhere. I always feel more comfortable when I'm more in control around them and we're doing stuff together and all. And we hadn't been on a trip in a while.
Just the two of us. I think it was, out of the country, but I think just the two of us. It had been last year, our anniversary. I don't think just the two of us had gone anywhere since a year ago. And so, it had been a hot minute. And I do want to say thank you to our listener that did buy Summer's old pillows and stuff and pictures, because it's actually a podcast listener. So we say thank you to that. But,
that's awesome.
But it had been a minute since we had done that. And you do get very anxious before we leave.
Especially out of the country. And I think part of it, the kids are driving now and, your risk go up on things that could happen, which I know it drives them crazy. But I also will forever have PTSD of this fear of getting this phone call that something happened. You live in reality. that no one's protected, no one's safe. And so then going out of the country, like going down to Hallie's house, no big deal because it's like, 2-hour flight. You're not that far away. So there was a lot of anxiety around going on the trip. And I felt like I kept getting some signs Saturday that it was like, you're supposed to go on this trip. Like, relax. It's going to be fine type of thing.
She was like, I could see her relaxing. Like, I could see your body starting to like calm and feel like you were ready to go. And then you even mentioned me a couple times. You were excited to go on a trip with me, which made me feel really good. I mean, it was very nice. I'm like, oh, she's really starting to get like in a mode where she wants to be on this trip.
Oh, she doesn't hate me. Oh my gosh.
Well, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. That's
words of affirmation for sure. So okay, there's the whole self-care side. It's prepping the house. It's like making sure we're ready, all of that stuff. And then it's like playing for the kids. And so typically when I would go on a trip away from the kids, I do it whenever I would not normally have the kids.
That's for both of us. We try to plan our trips on the weekends where we don't have our kids in,
so their schedule,
just in general. Yeah.
Yeah. So their schedule stays the same. It's like, I don't have a guilt leaving them because I know it's not the time I would normally have them and all of that. So it's like we plan our trips on a Wednesday to a Monday when they would normally be at their other families. And the other thing is because I struggle with the twins turning 16 because also this drives them nuts too, but I struggle with them turning 16 because it's like you automatically are getting less time with them. And so, we've learned the hardest lesson of all, that time is like the most precious gift that you have. And so anyway, we planned something to do with the kids the weekend before we left on that Saturday night, because also find that the best quality time is when you orchestrate something to do together. Yes. And so we decided we would go to dinner and go play pickleball.
Because if you plan dinner, they're getting fed out,
Free
which
food.
they like. And if you plan an event that you're paying for, they also are more likely to come. Those are the tips that we found when you
Eat
have
them
teenagers.
And do something fun. They're locked in. Especially when they start paying for their own food and gas. It's one way to draw them in. So we went to dinner Saturday night and we were sitting there watching the Mizzou game, and Summer was like, well, hey, when do you guys leave? And I'm like, Wednesday. And she's like, well, I think that's Dad leaves too, Wednesday. And I'm like, my heart sank of like, oh my gosh, I went into stress, panic, like, oh my God, what?
Moments ago when I referenced that on that Saturday, I saw her body starting to calm and I saw her starting to warm and feel really excited about this trip. In an instant, at dinner, having pizza, watching a basketball game, I watched her body go into fight or flight mode and completely like tense up, and the facial expression change and her body language change. And I was like, we may not be going on this trip. That was literally where I thought we were headed next. I was like, okay, well.
That crossed my mind because it's like, well, a couple of things. So one, oh my God, I would have had him like for 2 weeks straight. And
which is a dream for Angie.
Yes, because when you're divorced, you'll never, for moms, that's all I can speak to, is you'll never get used to not having your kids. Like, it'll always be this like sucky part, and doesn't matter how old they are. And anyway, so it's just like, holy cow, I can't be in another country and have my kids parentless. Now, let me just state this. They didn't give a shit. They were oh, yes. No worries. No worries.
There were worries. I don't trust 18-year-old kids on their own, and they actually are legal at that age. So there are worries. I'm
for sure.
with you. For me, there was no part of me that would leave 16-year-olds, yours, mine, if we had kids together, parentless for 5 days. I would never do that. No way. And the kids look at us like we're crazy. And it's like, no, we're not crazy. We've been 16. We know how that could go.
I'm aware. My parents never left, but man, we wish they would have. And we still did dumb shit whenever they were there. So I immediately go into like planning mode of like, holy cow, how are we going to do this? Who's going to come stay at the house. And so I mapped out this whole plan for the whole weekend from Wednesday to Monday. And it's just funny because they wanted to stay by themselves for the most part. And I swear, whenever you get when kids get their license, you instantly, as a parent, become like dumbest person ever.
They think we're stupid. Like we've never been in this situation before. But yeah, I do want to say thank you to your mom and dad, to Lexi, for helping out and taking time out of their schedules to come and hang with the twins. We really appreciated that so that we could get away and not have to cancel our trip last minute. But with all of that being said, you worked really hard on your plan. You did a good job.
I mapped it out and went over it with the kids. And of course, my nonconformist child pushed back big time. So I think that was like, Monday night?
That was Monday night. Yeah.
Him and I went around and around, which you see all the memes of like teenage kids and just all of that. Like, got some that are rule followers and some that are the nonconformist. And I'm honestly like, the nonconformists, they're going to be the leaders. I mean, because they're willing to push back, willing to challenge. So I try to keep that in mind. But we went round and round because he did not feel like he needed any supervision. And so I'm stressing out the whole time, like, oh my God, what a mess.
I just want to say, since this started out as a blended podcast before we got into all the grief, like it was actually a growth moment even for you and I during that pushback, because I was sitting there and 4 or 5 years ago, I would have pounced on him so many times. And I didn't. A couple times I chimed in a more loving way for both of you, which was hard for me, but it's a growth place. And I think if you're in a blended family, there are still some of these conversations where you're having them together, but you're also allowing the parent, which in this situation was you, lead that conversation rather than trying to lead myself, which times past that could have happened. So just note that if you started listening to us as a blended podcast, or blended family, if you're in this as a blended family, there are areas in those challenging conversations where you can see growth as a family and as a couple. So I was encouraged by that then before we left.
Yeah, you did a great job. You can't really weigh in. Like, it was something between him and I to work through and talk through, and you weighed in a couple times, but definitely stayed out of it because it would have just escalated.
It would have blown up even more. I think my one thing I said to our counselor this week, I said, I remember when I finally the first time decided to weigh in, I said, it was getting heated between the two of you. And I said, I would just like to point out to you, nonconformist, that, your mom doesn't love this either. This was also sprung on her. So she's worked really hard on this, and she's trying to have grace for you. So maybe you could also show a little grace for her. And that's and I could just honestly, openly say in the past, I would have been like, this is how we're freaking doing it because your mom said so.
That's not
so I didn't
the way to do it.
That's right. So there's some growth and effort in that regard as we do that. But yes, so that was Monday night.
Yeah. So Monday night, I'm just like, oh my God, like this is a disaster. And how am I going to go on this trip? And really, the whole point was to relax, rest, reconnect, recharge when I have all this weighing on me, And so it was tough. I did in my mind think about, do we need to reschedule it? But then, it's out of the country and that's not easy to do. And it's not easy with our schedules, all of that. So it's like, okay, I'm not in charge. I'm not in control. I can only control, what I can lay out for the kids and whatever. Like, God, you got it. You got it. So also, we had been trying to get a podcast recorded from the whole weekend. Like, I had asked the twins longer ago, I'm like, hey, would you guys want to do a podcast? And it, time had passed. And I'm like, I know you can have an impact in just sharing your thoughts. And it was hard to get them nailed down for a time that would work. So we tried Friday night and it didn't work. We tried Saturday night, it didn't work. Sunday night didn't work. Monday night sure in the hell didn't work.
No.
Tuesday, I go to St. Louis for meetings. Now, keep in mind, I have to go back to St. Louis Wednesday morning at 1:30.
At 1 a.m.
in the morning.
Yeah, 1:30.
for us to go to our flight. But a lot of people were like, that's crazy. Like, why aren't you staying in a hotel Tuesday night? I'm like, no, because I want time with my kids Tuesday night. I don't care if it's an hour. So the night before we have to leave, I'm like, could we you guys free? Can we record a podcast real quick? Won't take very long. They actually didn't have homework. So it was perfect. This is why you trust God's plan all the time, because we sat down and recorded that. And as each word came out of their mouth, even the cuss words, I mean, this was an unscripted podcast. I sent them a couple of questions ahead of time. I don't even know if they read it. And I'm like, just share your thoughts. Just share your thoughts. So first I'm going to pause and just give them a huge shout out, because if you have not listened to it, I recommend you go to the YouTube video, because their interactions are hilarious. But as each word came out, it was like I could feel the stress and anxiety just roll off of me, because it was the most beautiful thing. And
we go back to Saturday night where I watched your body language get really tight as we were doing the podcast, and I could also see it back unveiling again and opening back up, and you were starting to relax again thanks to recording the podcast with the twins.
Yeah, so I think sharing all of this effort and preparation and all the things that, especially as parents, you're juggling and you're trying to control, and you have these ups and downs in life. I was on a downhill spiral, and then this beautiful conversation comes together. Well, get teary-eyed, but the only thing I could say is you got to trust God. Even when you're stressed, even when there's so much anxiety, He has this plan that you were not even going to be able to imagine. He's orchestrating it all, even in the pain. So it was the perfect closure for me to then be able to unload all of that and go and enjoy a trip with you. And it was so good for us. We didn't even sleep that night, really, for an hour, maybe. And then we got up and went to the airport.
We were like youngins again.
Free.
Till we were up for almost 24 hours, and then we slept so friggin' hard that first night. No, it was a wonderful trip that we got to take together, and I was so glad that conversation happened. One, I think the podcast itself was great for kids. We heard from several people. They loved how the kids talked openly about therapy to normalize that. Just a lot of great feedback. But again, what it did for your mama's heart was really good and really important as well. So loved it. Just do it. Trust God.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying with that. Just trust God. He's always working all things for our good, even the things that don't feel good in the moment. And that's unfortunately a lesson we've learned a lot over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we skipped one step of our preparation. That was packing.
Oh,
and we both we packed similar, but we packed different. I like to lay out all my outfits. I usually overpack. Usually there's something I forget. This time I didn't. Should I share?
You should.
Oh my gosh. There's always
What'd
something.
you forget? What'd you not pack enough of?
Well, usually, if we're going to Florida, I really don't stress about what I pack, because it's a shopping opportunity. Okay, well, I forgot that. I'm just going to go Instacart, because down there at Hallie's house, you can Instacart from Dillard's, from Sephora, all these crazy stores.
And we have a washer dryer.
Yes. But when you're going to an all-inclusive resort, I mean, you're SOL. And so I had everything laid out, but I think I thought that my little pile of underwear that I was going to bring was stuff, just clean laundry I need to put away, because I had it all laid out, and I ended up putting it away. I think I had 3.
She's like, I didn't pack enough underwear. I was like, I don't see a problem. That was my first. I'm sorry. What's the problem? You don't have enough underwear? Perfect. Love it. Sounds like we're on a great trip. Here we go.
Yeah, I made it work.
I pack way heavier than I used to. When we met, I didn't pack very heavy. I counted out the exact amount of outfits I might need. Now I go overboard because I've seen the way you do it. And I do like to just be comfortable. If I need something, I want to have it. Yeah. And even packing that much, I'm never over, right? I don't ever go over the 50-pound mark. So
you can one thing that Aric has, you've had this forever, but it's like a little thing you can weigh your luggage.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can get them on Amazon. It's so handy because it's all about efficiency and eliminating stress. So you can easily weigh your luggage and know if you're close or not, instead of getting to the airport and you're scrambling to try to move stuff around because you're over. Usually for trips too, I'll like buy a new outfit, but I didn't this time, because I am trainable and Aric has me on a shoestring budget.
Shoestring. That's what we're calling it now, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't buy a new outfit, but I did buy a couple of packing organizational things. I posted this week on social media because I loved them and they were very inexpensive on Amazon. But they're cute little makeup toiletry bags and a beach bag and a little sun bag to keep my SPF lip stuff on there so I don't get sunburnt on my lips like I did on that one trip that was god awful.
I did like them because when I would say, hey, do you have this? You go, yeah, look in this bag. And it was easy to identify. If people buy that on your Amazon link, do you get paid for that? Because I'll promote the hell out of that right now.
Like a penny. A penny.
Perfect. Hey, it's all right. Penny at a time. We're making it work.
It's mainly for me to keep the links of stuff I buy because people ask me all the time. I was sitting in the airport and the lady's like, is that the backpack that is like a carry-on luggage? And I'm like, yeah. So I opened it up and showed it to her and she found the link on Amazon and like ordered it. But I have people ask me all the time, like, where did you get that? And 95% of my stuff's on Amazon. So it's just easier to have it already have a link captured because I have a little storefront.
For the record,
no, it's like a penny.
Old shoestring budget over there. We were going to work out a lot on this trip, which we did. It was fun. We'd start our morning with a workout. I did get you a nice new Lululemon outfit for the trip. And you look amazing in that.
You fell into that trap.
There you go. Don't even. I did that for you and you look great in it. So you're welcome.
Summer found
Moving along. Just do it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about that. Okay. Something else for my packing. I always pack healthy snacks to have on the plane because you're always going to get hungry and I don't want to eat crap. Thing we always do. We also always bring our own water cups so we make sure we stay hydrated. We fill them up in the airport. Another quick tip, too, if you guys don't know this, is most Starbucks in the airport do mobile orders now. And so when you order on the mobile app, it puts you at the very top. And I am all about efficiency. So there is something so satisfying when you order from Starbucks and there's a long line and you just walk up to it and your coffee is right there. I did that twice. This past Wednesday, I had a day trip to Chicago. And I get off the flight and I went to the bathroom, but in the bathroom, I ordered my Starbucks because there was one right outside. And I come out and there's this long line at Starbucks. And I just walk up there and get my...
Very good
when
feeling.
You're like an efficiency guru, it's like, oh my God, this is like the best thing ever. Then it's more time, more productivity time for me. One other, though, quick thing. When we're driving to the airport, do you remember this?
Oh, absolutely. I do. Yeah.
It's dark.
I was driving.
Rain. Yeah. Dark, pouring down rain. Wasn't it rainy? Yeah.
It was raining.
No,
and
it was dark. And when we got to the airport, it was rainy. And because there was potential storms, we did covered in that parking spot. And we saw a couple spots, but we wanted to get more inward in case there was a lot of storms because it's not like fully covered. So we pull into a spot that we found that we liked, but the one right in front of it was open too. So Aric just pulled forward. Anyway, so we get our luggage out. It's like rainy, nasty, misty. I'm like, oh, well, we need to see what our number is so we can give it to the bus that picks us up. And of course, it was number 7. And I'm like, okay, hi, Hal. I know we're supposed to go on this trip. Like, she just keeps the number 7 coming.
Yeah, she showed up a lot on the trip, but it was really nice because I know it always makes us both feel good, and especially you. And yes, but that was like a right out of the gate. I was parking in spot 8, not knowing it was 8. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, we didn't know.
And then I was like, you know what? Let's just pull up into the next one. And I did. And then that's when that happened. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, we'll have a whole nother episode on just the trip too.
Yes, because I got a drink I got to share with you guys that Angie and I found together. So
yes,
a non-alcoholic drink that is very refreshing. So
Yes.
I did glance over while we were flying down to Antigua, is where we went. Also, if you think it's Antigua, so did we. But you learn when you get there immediately, the locals inform you you're in Antigua. So that's where we were. But flying, a lot of cloud cover that day. And I noticed you gazing out the window for long periods of time. I saw you typing for long periods of time. What did that entail for you?
Well, for one, I didn't purchase internet. So, it's 3 hours of Angie thoughts. And those
Deep
are deep.
thoughts.
I'm processing all the stress I had leading up to the trip and just life. And it just hit me too. I've talked about this on the seasonal depression, how hard it is to not have sunshine. And you actually just sent me an article too on Fox News where they're doing all this research that people have been conditioned to think that the sun's bad. And there's so many health benefits to sunshine. And I mean, obviously I struggle in life. We all do, but I really struggle when it's dark. And
Me too.
When the sun's not shining. And we had that day in March where the sun came out early March. And it was just oh my God, I feel so much lighter. So anyway, I'm processing all of that. And the clouds on this flight were so unique and different and changed often. And I posted some pictures of a couple of different types of clouds. And I just kept thinking God, I fight so hard for sunshine and for that light in my life. And I hate the clouds. I hate it when it's cloudy and dark and rainy. But then when you're flying, I always love looking out the plane window because it just puts so many things in perspective. It's also like the sand on the beach of how small and granular the sand is. And that's your problems, right? They're so small in the grand scheme of things when you see this huge ocean, and it puts everything in perspective. And when you're above the clouds, it's the same. The clouds are beautiful when you can zoom out and you're above them. Mm-hmm. And when you're up in a plane and you look down, it's your pain and your struggles seem small in the grand scheme of things because you see all this wonder and this beauty. And then I also am always thinking and this will make me cry, but I always think, what is heaven like? If that's so beautiful and we watch the sunrise on the plane, then it's this wonder. So yeah, I wondered for 3 hours. And then I wrote because that's just what I do to try to process it. And I shared this out. It's on our social media and it's also on our website too as a blog post that I pushed out. But I like writing short little poems, I guess you call it. I'm sure there's a certain type that this is called how I write.
I don't think it's a haiku. That's the only one. I don't think it's a haiku, but
No.
it is a poem for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So I'll read it real quick. But clouds cover the sun. My sadness rears its ugly head. My body tells me it's better just to stay in bed. Clouds cover the sun. My outlook starts to sink. But my mind tells me that I'm stronger than what I think. When in doubt, try to zoom out, they say. It's hard to do carrying this grief every day. A different perspective, I'm told I will gain. It feels impossible with all of this pain. But why is it when we are above the clouds on a plane, zoomed way out, there's no refrain of singing God's goodness, beauty, and a knowing He did create all of this to keep showing that above the clouds or below, on a high or feeling very low, that He's still with us, asking only for faith, love, and trust.
I love listening to your poems. You do a great job of all of the writing that you do. And your thoughts, I know how healthy it is for both of us to get our thoughts down on paper. And so very well written. Really, really liked it. And I'm glad that it went so well once we were able to get on the trip. And again, we'll talk about that next week. But what would you like to share that you're grateful for today before we wrap up?
I mean, my number one thing is time. I'm grateful for the time. I've had the kids this week too. I'm grateful for time with you and the trip and that we had safe travels and that our kids survived. survived last weekend without us, and they behaved, and they
We
went
think
to
they
church.
behaved.
I mean, for the most part, they did a good job hiding it if they didn't.
That's right. That's right. I would just say that I'm grateful for the trip as well. You and I needed some time to reconnect, and felt like that happened. If you followed the podcast, I know we've had people reach out to us, been like, gosh, I can tell you're in a hard season. And definitely that was the case. I'm not saying we won't be in more hard seasons. That's part of life and marriage. But we had a wonderful 5 days together, great to build on. And I would say, too, I'm grateful. Earlier this week, I celebrated 7 months of sobriety. And I mean, my buddy Bill said to me at the start when he was like, how are you feeling? I was like, pretty good. Like, I can feel like 2 months in. So he's like, you don't even know what's going to happen to your body until you get to the back half of the first year. And then things are even more clear. And I forgot about that. I forgot about him telling me that until I had 5 days with you to unwind, relax, and really work through some thoughts. And then I got back this week, and I should have been exhausted all week from the travel, the time changes, maybe some jet lag. And I have been so efficient and effective in all the things that I've accomplished this week. And I was telling my coworkers yesterday, I feel like my brain is working at like 1,000%. And I can only attribute that to the 7 months of sobriety and clearing out the toxins from my body. Maybe not all the sweets. I still have a sweet tooth. But as my trainer says, those 150 calories before bed are a lot better than the calories I was taking in beforehand.
Yeah.
So I just feel really clear. I'm grateful for that. Grateful for friends and God and the support that I've had in that journey. And yeah, so excited about the springtime as we do hit spring later this week. And just excited for some of the podcasts that we have coming up in the next few weeks. Which reminds me, if you like what you hear from week to week, please share that on your socials or share it with someone who may be in a season of struggle, because we would love to be able to help those people and to continue to build this blended, blessed, always a mess community. Angie, anything you want to add today?
Nope, I think I'm good. I thought of a few things, but I'm going to add it to our next podcast.
I love it. All right. Well, we hope that you guys have an absolutely wonderful week. Hug people that are close to you, love on people. And I hope that you have a wonderful week, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.